Beards, carpets, advertising, entrepreneurial competitions. Some people are just wired to run businesses. Today's guest is that guy who on the second day of college knew that wasn't for him, so he split off and started his first business. Since then, he started several more new businesses and is thriving in all of them. He's got a great story. Welcome to the Socks and Soul Podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Ditto. Let's go. I'd like to welcome in studio Jeremy Mcgee. Thanks, Jeremy, for coming down.
How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing really good. I've always admired a man who can carry a beard the way you carry a beard.
You got a beard?
Yeah,
That's great.
It's funny because I let my scruff go a little longer, because I didn't want to be totally intimidated by your man beard.
Oh man, no, I've had it for like 15 years. Not this length, but like I've gone back and forth, just different sizes. But like, yeah, it's totally become like a part of who I am. I have kids that like have never seen me without a beard.
I was going to ask you that. Have your kids ever seen you clean shaven?
Maybe one, but completely shaven. If you say clean, that means that you're insinuating that a beard is dirty.
Yeah, okay. So that's a term that we ought to change, huh?
Yeah, I mean that's like probably like, propaganda from Gillette or something.
Totally is.
So yeah, I have maybe my oldest is 14 and she's probably the only one that maybe can remember. There's pictures in our house.
Yeah.
Like when we got married or whatever.
Right.
And I don't have a beard, and like their cousins will be like, "Who is that?" Like they're like the younger ones, like they have no clue, because I do look very different. Yeah. With the beard. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the impetus behind the beard? I mean, is that just something that you like, or is it? I mean,
well, I started out just was like, what would I look like if I didn't shave? And so I started that, and then I started fundraising for a group in Spokane called Spokane Beard and Mustache, who one of the founders of that, the founder of that nonprofit, who he's turned it over now, but became a business partner of mine in a beard grooming company. So
okay.
That, just was just something, we'll try this, see what it's like. And then I was like, yeah, I don't want to shave anymore. So, and
I think there's, I've grown a beard a couple of times, just a couple of months worth. And I think there's a strong misconception about like, a beard is easy to grow and, you don't have to do anything with it. But I found that very quickly that is definitely not the case.
Yeah, it's not like a lazy unkept thing, but
right.
Like it's a pretty easy thing to do. You just don't shave.
Right.
And I think a lot of people just don't let it go long enough. Like they're like, oh, I got a patchy spot here, or they're like so concerned about how they look around it. Yeah. Like they don't let it develop.
Yeah.
So like I asked somebody like, oh, I can't grow a beard. And I'm like, well, how long did you try to grow a beard? And the answer is always like way less than 6 months. And I'm like, well, you didn't give it a full go.
Right.
So there's like a thing called a yeared, where you go a whole year without shaving. You can trim and, you can shape and stuff like that. But like to fully see how you would carry a beard, like you can't do it in like 2 months. Yeah. Like it's impossible.
Yeah.
Because a scruff shave is not the same look as like a full beard like this.
Yeah.
It still has its style, and there's plenty of people that can rock it and say like, oh, I'm going to keep it this length. And I think that's totally cool. Like wherever you want to keep it.
Yeah.
But if you're one of those guys that's like, hey, no, I'm just too patchy. Like it would never look like that.
Right.
Like I could show, I don't think I have pictures, but like there are phases where I'm like, oh, like maybe I'm not the guy that's going to have a beard.
It's like your awkward beard stage.
Yeah. It's just like, like someone that wants to grow long hair.
Right.
And there's this like phase in between short hair and long hair that they have to like push through to get there.
Right.
Beard's no different.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people use an excuse like, oh yeah, I just can't do it. Like, you haven't given it a shot. Like you didn't commit to it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. You didn't commit to it. You want to know if you can grow a beard? Your time period is like a year, right? You got to give that thing a year.
Yeah, at least more than 6 months. I would say gives you an idea about kind of what it's going to look like. Like the patchiness, maybe one side grows in a little different than the other. Like that all evens out in time.
Yeah.
It just doesn't like grow perfectly right where you want it right away. Just like the hair on your head. So
yeah. That's hilarious. A lot of opinions about beards. I like it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of when you have a company where like the premise is like
Beard care.
Beard care.
Yeah.
You know, and the mission of that company is like helping men feel confident in their beard and
For sure.
and what that does to them in society or in their life. And yeah, so you start forming opinions on, you know, all the naysayers that say that they can't do it or whatever.
I love it.
So yeah.
So you own a handful of companies today. One the one that I met you at, and kind of you're probably the most well known for at this point, is your ownership in a Zero Res franchise here in Spokane. You now have multiple and have had others.
Yeah.
Tell us about that business today.
So Zero Res is a franchise, and getting into it, I was fairly young. The franchise as a whole probably has 60 franchises total. Spokane is probably one of their more premier franchises, as in it has, you know, more market penetration, and it's a very stable business and has some tenure to it. But I was 23 when I started that business. I went to school for a semester, completed my first semester, and was just like, I'm done. Like, this isn't going to be...
College wasn't for you.
No. You know, I enjoy learning,
Yeah.
but I more enjoy learning on my terms.
Yeah. What was high school like for you? Were you a good student or were you distracted?
You know, I got like a 3.5 or 3.6.
Okay, so you did good.
So I was okay, like just enough.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I would spend more time figuring out how to get out of class, or, you know, doing something that I wanted to do, or taking, like, the counselors like hated me because I was like, I'm going to take these classes and I don't want that class. And they're like, well, you know, it was just a constant fight, I think.
Were you entrepreneurial minded at that young age?
I think I was, but I think I didn't know it.
Yeah.
Like, I think I thought very differently. I had tendencies where, you know, distracted is the wrong word, but like I would very fast move on to something else.
Yeah.
You know, being constrained in a certain style of learning, like, did not fit for me. So, you know, I graduated high school, you know, did that, went on a mission. I served in the Provo, Utah mission. And
so you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and you served a 2-year full-time mission.
Yep, in Utah.
In Utah.
Yeah, I got my
which is the hub of the church.
Yeah, and I got my mission call. I was like, okay, yeah, that. The funniest thing is, so I was in Utah at my uncle's house. My dad calls me and tells me that this is what they read the call to me over the phone because I wasn't at home. And I was like, I don't believe you. Like, this is just a joke.
You're like, you guys are messing with me, man.
Yeah, and this is like 2000-ish. And they're like, well, we'll get it to you. And like, I guess email wasn't like as big of a thing, or maybe they couldn't scan it. They're like, we'll fax it to you. So
where were you?
I was at my uncle's house in Utah, like hanging out. So they faxed me my mission call. I'm like, that's like where you go learn to be a missionary. But yeah, it was a great mission. We served with like a lot of foreign missionaries.
Cool.
From like Mongolia and Singapore and like all Sri Lanka, all these very obscure places where they came. And it's a very productive mission. A lot of people learning, coming like that at the school. Like, I served at BYU and served all over.
Yeah.
So I got that done. Didn't really know what I was going to do when I got done. Like, I had no absolute clue. So, you know, I'm sure my mom enrolled me in school or something. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I went to BYU, Idaho. Uh-huh. And from the second day, I was like, I don't want to do this.
This is not for me.
Nah. So I called my dad and I was like, I'm not like a quitter. Like, that's not like a thing I've done in my life up until that point. But I was like, I don't want to waste 4 years doing this.
Right.
And so like, he's like, okay.
So for you, it was more about like, I could tell right out of the gate, this isn't my jam, and this isn't something I want to spend my time doing.
Yeah, I just didn't fit like at all. Like on a mission, I could fit into that because like I bought into what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like that, like I could learn and I could get everything that I want. Like, I could go find out how to do that, but I don't want to sit in this class and do it.
Yeah.
In the social aspect, I was like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I can make friends and stuff. It doesn't have to be at this school. And it was cold. Like, I didn't like that either. So
Rexburg is cold.
Yeah, like your nostrils freeze. Like, and nothing about that like did I enjoy. So I at least stuck out the quarter because, you know, I didn't know if maybe that wasn't the right school for me or I'd do something else.
Yeah.
And I took this class that was like a business class, and they made me interview somebody, and I interviewed my uncle who owned a restoration business at the time and a water technology company, and he introduced me to the Zero Res franchise, and I was able to kind of learn about that, did some due diligence, flew to Dallas, Texas, where they had a location, and rode on a truck, and I was like, I could do that. It'd be hard work. It's not sexy.
Yeah.
But I could do that. And if I did my own thing and built something, like I'd rather put my time into that.
Yeah.
Than going to school and spending money for someone to teach me something.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
So yeah, that's how I got into it, how I started. And in the beginning, it was all me. Like I did everything. And
so was there a franchise buy-in? Did you have to come up with,
Yeah, so
to buy equipment and vans and the franchise fees?
Yep. So yeah, I had to get SBA loan, and I didn't have any credit, so I got my dad to co-sign with me, and he kind of supported me on that end. And yeah, just learned. I didn't know anything.
And so just like that, you're in business for yourself.
Yeah, like I was super naive. Like I had some sales skills. I felt like I could do that. And and I definitely had the ambition. And I wasn't afraid of like working hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm all right with that. So I can make this work. And it was a grind in the beginning. Like there are multiple times in Zero Res Spokane where, it just felt super lonely. And, I didn't know, I had doubts if I could actually make it work.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was very difficult. Luckily I met Rachel, who I ended up getting married to, like the fall that I moved to Spokane to start the franchise. And we were in the same ward, and we dated and were engaged for like a year. And if I were single, I don't know if I could have got through all that. Cause like when we got married, like then I felt like, okay, now I got to make this work because I don't, she's very well educated. She got her master's, when we first got married in social work, and, but I was like, I don't want to go back to school. Like this is, I can make this work.
Yeah.
And we've had that business for 17 years. It's been very successful. But the first 5-10 years were a grind to get it moving.
Yeah.
And then it really blew up, and paid dividends to us in an outlet for me to have influence, to lead, and I was on a carpet cleaning truck for 7 years, kind of doing that thing. And I was good at it, and I loved it. But it was hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So that's interesting that because you got married, that was an influential part of you sticking with it. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah. I think like, and then you have a kid, and like the responsibility, like, it gets
I gotta
bigger.
go bring home some bacon.
Yeah. And I think every person, whether you're a man or a female, like that starts a business as an entrepreneur, like wants to succeed.
Yeah.
Like the last thing they want to do is like have it not work. And I think there's lots of up and downs to get that done. And it is not, it's not like the few, even the things that people say like, oh, that just blew up and was like so amazing.
Overnight success.
In tech stuff. Like, no, there's like a lot behind.
Yeah.
Why that was successful and why that worked. I do believe that the more you're in business, the more it's easier to duplicate, but it's still hard work to get something moving.
Yeah.
And having multiple businesses now, I don't take that for granted. And I've learned a lot out of each one that definitely makes me a better caliber business owner to be able to go into the next thing or evaluate something differently than I did before.
Yeah, for sure. So when you talk about the early hard days, did you ever seriously consider like going and doing something else or getting a job with somebody else? Or I mean, what was the part in your mind that was the biggest drag?
I'm so independent.
Yeah.
Like I, especially even at that age, like I did not. There's no way I was going to rely on somebody else to take care of me and my wife. So that, I think that like just didn't allow me to give up.
Yeah.
The only job I ever had was in high school, and I worked for a grocery store. And I remember I was the bagger, and I thought I was pretty good at bagger. And I think that experience was in the back of my head, like when wanted to open a business. I don't think it like drove me to say like, I didn't walk out of high school saying like, I'm going to be a business owner one day.
Sure.
But I think I learned things through that process that like made me want to be independent around myself. I got secret shopped once. I don't know if you know what that is, but
where they send in somebody to critique, the deal.
So I got secret shopped once, and when you do, your manager sits you down and it's like, hey, this is what happened, and it's all like only the side of the secret shopper, right?
Right.
And he goes, you got high scores on everything except for loyalty. I was like, how so? And he's
loyalty?
Like, yeah, he's like, the lady that was your secret shopper asked you like if you were gonna work here forever. And he goes, do you want me to read you what she wrote? I said, sure.
You're like, yes, yeah, I do.
And I'm like, I don't know what he's gonna say because like I talk to people all day long and I probably tell them all kinds of crazy things. And he said, I quote, she said, no, I am not gonna be a bagger my whole life. I really hope I don't work here forever. And he said that to me, and like almost like it was like a disgust.
He's like you don't want to work here the rest of your life? You don't know
all the opportunities here that we have for you. And I'm like, I'm like, okay, like, yeah. Not only did I say that, I was like, I still believe that. Like,
you honestly think that's a bad answer for a young kid like me? I'm a teenager.
Yeah, and maybe at that age or in that moment, I thought like the position and whatever. Right. And he's like, trying to pitch to me like I could be in his seat. I was like, that's cool. Thanks. Okay, I'll watch what I say around customers and like finding some tact.
Sure.
But that was an interesting thing that I remember about like being an employee, and I value people that don't want to own a business. Like that's fine. Like not everybody should have to or want to do that. Like everybody has a place in how they support, and some people can feel very entrepreneurial in a job, in the right job, and be a part of a business that's moving, and get all the good things and just not take the risk, right?
Oh, for sure. I think there's a lot of companies, and probably yours included, where they give people the opportunity to innovate and do things their way, and they find great fulfillment in the way they do it.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely true. But I also think you're spot on that not everybody is wired to be self-employed, because it is not. It's not for the faint of heart, and not everybody wants to do it that way.
Yeah, and I think,
and that's okay.
I think I've always been wired. I think in high school it just wasn't a thought that crossed my mind that I could like go and figure out how to make money myself. Like it was easy just to I only had to pay for gas and insurance. Like that was my whole goal.
Right.
But the goals changed. Like it's like, okay, how do I
got a little more involved?
How do I get better at that? And
yeah.
So having that first business was a learning experience. And getting to that point where I was doing it, but I was doing it all myself. Like the business was mine. I didn't have any partners. Like it was just all me for a long time. And I stayed on a truck probably way too long too.
Why was that?
I think I was comfortable and I was good at it.
Yeah.
And, I think every entrepreneur that starts as a technician in their business, whatever that part is, the production side, if they're good at it, it's just comfortable to stay there and they get something out of it that they enjoy. But once I was able to finally make that transition, and then manage teams and grow into, the integration of the business and the back end of the business and learning that my value to that business like grew tremendously, and I learned so much and kind of figured out that, my really calling in any business now is really that visionary strategic place or support of a visionary in the business in some of the other businesses I have, and where I can play a side role to support them. But the day-to-day, it's almost like you can't get sucked in and go back and forth.
Yeah.
And when I own as many businesses as I have, I can just hang out there and just be really strong in the strategic mentorship, visionary role. And that's where I thrive and can create so much more value for the business. And I enjoy it so much more, than I did even when I was the best of the best.
Yeah.
And being a technician.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're exactly right. We, I talk to a lot of business owners who they are the best mechanic, or they are the best framer, or the best roofer, and their business never scales because that's all they stay right in that vein.
Yeah.
And some guys just want to own their job, and that's totally fine. But how did you? I mean, first of all, how did you discover this in yourself? And then how did you transition out of it? Because a lot of guys never are able to, or never try to.
Yeah, well, part of it helped being a part of franchise, because I was able to see other franchises that, were starting to grow in different ways than I was, or become bigger, and I could compare and kind of look at that way. Where in industry you don't really get that opportunity because they're all your competitors.
Yeah.
So that helped at least maybe spark like, hey, like that might be something that I might have to get off a truck to be able to do some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hired a business coach, which probably was the more pivotal part of that transition, and really evaluating where my strengths were, where I hadn't grown yet, where my weaknesses were in leadership, and being on a truck or playing a role in any business, you can really hide behind I'm just awesome at that, and if your leadership doesn't mature, then nobody else can be that good. That doesn't really lend well to something growing at all, or me personally growing. So
yeah.
It was really realizing that, and then really diving in and working on my own progression out of something I was really good at and comfortable with something that I hadn't done yet, that maybe I could be okay at, maybe I can be great at, and starting to just take chances in figuring out how I leverage that, and then take more risk in the business.
Right.
In growing it. That takes more capital and takes a different part of your brain.
Yeah.
And trusting other people.
Yeah.
Which was something I hadn't done either.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't have a general manager. I didn't have business partners. Like everything would rely on me, and if I didn't fail, then everything was okay.
Right. Yeah. So how many years in were you before you decided to hire a business coach to kind of look at this stuff?
Oh, probably like 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
So,
and did you had employees at that point, I presume?
Yep. We had a team, we had a small team and some supporting staff at that point. And it was kind of really right before like the 08, 09 debacle and the crash there. And we really grew through that because I was growing and we were investing more into the business. And that was kind of the point where opening another franchise came, and then starting Beard Brand came, which completely changed everything for me, because that was the moment where I was like, hey, like I'm going to have a real partnership. Like I'm going to rely on other people, and I got something to bring to the table here. And so we formed a partnership between me, Eric Banholtz and Lindsay Reinders, and formed Beard Brand. Mm-hmm. And it was a startup in Spokane. Mm-hmm. We met at a startup weekend, ended up on a team together, did really well, and kept meeting every week about what if we did something together. We didn't know what. And then
when you say startup weekend, what
it's
is
like
that?
It's like a competition for entrepreneurs.
Cool. Okay.
So Google and probably Microsoft, I think, fund it or sponsor it, and they basically take, I don't know, there's probably 100 people at the one I went to that round, and they start out with pitches, similar to like Shark Tank. You get out, pitch an idea, and those ideas turn into like a big poster that goes on the wall, and then everybody votes on which was the best idea.
Yeah.
It was like 60-second pitch, and then they end up with like 10 and 12 teams. And then the winners of the pitch get to recruit the rest of the people that are there, not all pitch, to their team.
Okay.
So me and Eric and Lindsay ended up on the same team.
Was that just chance?
We knew each other as acquaintances.
Okay.
So we knew who we were. It was Lindsay's idea. I was sitting next to her. I was like, hey, you should pitch that. Like, and then Eric's like, yeah. So we ended up, and we were definitely the stronger people on that team. We worked well together, 72 hours. Like, you can work as much as you want on it, and then you have to pitch like a 6-8 minute pitch where you develop something. We like went through and like did coding and like developed an app for ours, and like
in 72 hours.
Yep, went through and got like commitments and white paper that said that people would do this thing, and it was like a parking, like utilizing space outside of a venue to rent out parking for something else.
Okay.
So someone like a business person has a lot, they
Right.
can,
They can sublet it out during this event.
Yep. So
Yeah.
we pitched that, and I think we got like second place or whatever. And
Yeah.
and we just kept that formed like a working relationship where we saw each other do something, and then we just kept meeting.
Why did you do this?
I don't know why I did it. I mean, it sounded cool.
Okay.
It sounded like something that I,
mean,
would
you're-
enjoy.
You're waist deep in running zero res.
Yep.
And then it was like, hey, there's this entrepreneur competition.
Yeah,
Let's try it.
I think partly just because I enjoy the challenge of
Yeah.
challenges, right?
Cool.
So and I got to be around like really interesting people in the startup community through that, and have even relationships today.
Yeah.
Like I met a guy named Pete that owns Spiceology, and that like we met there, like,
Yeah.
and we still have a relationship today.
Yeah.
And he has a great business in Spokane.
Yeah.
So, we did that. Eric got asked to like contribute to an article on New York Times because he had a blog where he was basically talking about his transition from Wall Street to design work, and how he grew a beard through that process. And they wanted him to take some product and try it out, review it, and put it in their article. And we're like, well, if you're going to do that, what if we bought the product you're going to review, put it on a site, and he had the domain, and we saw what happens.
Yeah.
So that's how Beard Brand initially formed, and then we ended up developing products. We got on Shark Tank, and we're into it pretty good. So
I didn't know you were on Shark Tank.
yeah, I wasn't. Well, I have a cameo in like his B-roll, but we decided as a partnership that Eric was going to pitch. So yeah, we were on like the 2009 Halloween edition. I think it's like 7 years ago.
Oh man, I gotta go back and look it up.
I
had no
don't know
idea.
what year, but yeah, we pitched on Shark Tank. It was like the highest rated Shark Tank that they ever recorded to that time, and we did not get a deal, and we were okay with that. We went into it knowing that like who knows what it's worth.
Yeah.
We had momentum going into it. We had goals. I think we were working towards like $1 million at that point.
Yeah.
Like their feedback was like it was too small, too niche.
Like, come back when you've sold some.
Yeah, they're like, you're never going to sell more than $3 million, and
Right.
our business is far past that now. We're in Target, and it's a really cool, sexy business.
Yeah.
But the partnership was massive for me to like be a part of something like that, to trust them. And we have a great partnership. We meet every 90 days in person in that business still to this day. We haven't missed one. We missed one through COVID. We did it online, but that's the only time we haven't met in person.
But otherwise, you guys meet together.
Yep. And we
Still the three of you.
the three of us.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Sometimes we go international and have a meeting together
Sure.
around the business and strategy, and the business is a great business to work on. It's got really good branding, and is something that really came out of Spokane, which is cool too.
That is cool.
And yeah, it's doing well. But that was another big pivotal moment for me, was to enter into a partnership and like be okay with me not controlling everything, but also being able to support other people.
Yeah.
And they both work full time in the business, and I haven't had a operational role in that business. It's always been strategic, and that's been great for them too, because when we talk about things, I'm this different outside perspective because I'm not in
You're not
it
waist
every
deep
day.
in the
Yep.
minutia of what's going on.
So that's pretty awesome, and that allowed me also from there to form other partnerships that have been very successful and opened me up to being okay with that, and also kept me in the spot where I'm able now, to own multiple businesses. I think I have 4 partnerships in different businesses, and it really allows me to support them in a partnership, in the business in a certain way, that I don't know if I could juggle all that if I had different operational roles in each one, and wouldn't be able to
That seems
maintain
impossible.
a life, I don't think. Yeah.
So you have the Zero Res here in Spokane. You are the sole owner of.
Yep.
And so then you have Beard Brand with a couple of partners.
Yep.
You also have a media company or an advertising outfit.
Yeah, we have an agency. I have partnership in that, and that's here in Spokane, and we do everything from brand creation identity, to graphic artists, to we've got digital people. We place media, traditional and digital media, and then we do a lot of business strategy in that business with just figuring out how people, and our range of clients is very broad, like all the way from like a hamburger joint in Spokane to a carpet cleaner in Raleigh or something like, just big range of different clients and different personalities in that business. And it's a very creative business that I get to spend some time in. So a lot of my day is supporting the other partnerships and other businesses with different people that I mentor. But I start my day kind of in Spokane in the Zero Res, and then I go to Woodshop as my workplaces.
Woodshop is the digital agency. Mm-hmm.
And never really had a desk. I've always had a couch that I work at. And then
I'm here to see Jeremy. Well, his chair's over there.
Yep. And then the rest of my life is, I've got 5 kids, from 14 all the way down to a newborn. We love being out on the water.
I share your love with the water, Jeremy.
Yeah. I think I was talking to you. I got my 12-year-old slalom skiing this year, and it's just like so awesome.
That is the best. What a great feeling.
And I get to travel a lot for my businesses too. So I get to spend a lot of time in each location. Some of the other Zero Reses I own in the Midwest, in those partnerships, and just get to kind of float and be a part of their successes, get to be part of their challenges, and get to bring to the table what I feel like I can bring to add value to them and do that each day. So
what do you find, in your current setup with these handful of businesses and partnerships? What do you find is, when you mentor, you talk about mentoring people, these are your partners and your managers of your business, I presume. What do you find is the most important thing to teach these people? What have you learned that you find to be the greatest nugget?
It's different for every person, and really, like, I value the relationship in one, helping them get to a goal. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's very professional, and sometimes that's pretty personal.
Yeah.
And so, like, every case is all different, and the relationships are all different. And I make it a point to find value for me and point out to them what they're doing for me in the relationship. Because that's just as important to me, because to me, it's not a one-way street. So if for instance, I'm working with a technician from one of the franchises that wants to buy a house, and we're talking about what that looks like, and I can kind of watch their numbers and see their production and kind of cheerlead them on what they're doing on that end that I know is going to help them get to that. And maybe we have a conversation about budgeting or about things that they're doing to do that. And if I'm really inspired by something that they grinded out or they did or they sacrificed, like, I can share with them like what that did for me that day.
Yeah.
Like, and how that affects how I go back to my family or my business or what I do in the business and how that helped me that day.
Yeah.
And that's important to me too, because like it shows them that, like, I'm not this guy that just has my shit figured out and like I don't have to worry, and like I have all the same struggles that I had when I was in any other role in my business. It's just different, and I'm still learning too. And so like we talked about coaching a little earlier. When I coached out of that spot with a business coach, like, I still have a business coach today. I'm just working on different things.
Yeah.
And some of those kind of feed into like these things we're talking about, like, how do you properly mentor somebody? How do you really allow that to be a part of your role in your business? And that's, not every founder has to do that.
Sure.
Not every founder should. But that's something that I'm drawn to, that I enjoy, and that I feel like I get value out of, is also like adding that to them.
Yeah. Who have been your biggest inspirations or your best mentors, and what were the lessons that they taught you?
Probably my dad, for one.
Was your dad an entrepreneur?
No.
Okay.
He went to med school and he sticks needles in people and gives them drugs.
He's an anesthesiologist.
Yeah. So he went to school, like did everything different than me.
Yeah.
But
what did he think about when you were like, I'm not going to school anymore, and he had spent 20 years in school?
Well, when I called him that, I don't think we like he acknowledged, okay. And then, he's like, only rule is 2 rules. You got to finish the quarter out. So I did that. That's probably the only
fair
rule.
enough.
And
already paid for it. So
and when you do this thing you're going to do, which who knows, he probably thought I was going to put a vacuum in my car and drive around. I don't know what he thought. You got to go to institute and like go to some type of seminary where you hopefully will be around the other sex. And like you value that might be a part of your life. And I was like,
he was like, get married, Jeremy.
Pretty much.
Find a wife and get married.
Like he his fear, and he said is you skip this whole college scene,
right?
And like I don't want you like just like focused on this, because he probably knew I was pretty independently focused. Like he knew I would figure out and like drive somewhere with it. Like don't make that important. So I did that. Did not meet Rachel at Institute though. But
Institute was your religion class.
Yeah, like
right?
a seminary.
Yeah.
But it was the commitment to do that. So I said okay, and he's like, do that. I'm good. And I was like, that was easy.
You were like, oh, you were way cooler about this than I thought you'd be.
Well, like, because I admired that he did go to school, right?
Oh, for sure.
And he had to for his profession. I admired that he, in his profession, he is an LLC and does his own billing and is independent, but still has a contract. So it's somewhere in between sole proprietor and an actual like business owner, but he has restrictions. So he did value I think entrepreneurism, but I don't think his profession lended to him like exploring it totally.
Sure. Right.
But he was someone that was supportive in that for me to do it.
Yeah.
So that I think was huge for me. I needed that. I didn't, and also in the beginning of my business, when like things were like super tough, like I always like was worried like I was gonna call him or he's gonna call me. He's gonna be like, "Hey man, like you need to freaking step it up. Like, like you're gonna waste your time on this or what." But he was always like, "Hey." Like I was like, dude, it was just a terrible week. Nothing's working. I can't get anybody to buy anything, or I don't have enough jobs. And he just really quiet, and he'd be like, yeah, at work, at the hospital, sometimes it gets slow too. And that's exactly what I needed, because I would create all the pressure I needed for myself. Like I didn't need any more pressure.
Right.
And that really allowed me to be like, okay, I'll be all right.
This is normal.
Yeah.
This is okay.
Where if I had a dad that was just like, what are you doing? Like put any more pressure on me, like, I don't know, maybe I'd explode.
Yeah.
So I look back at that and just really appreciate that.
He identified that you were doing everything in your power to make this thing work. And
just like
it was going to be tough.
Gave me some grace, right?
Like, it's okay, man.
And like did the right thing of like like taking him, like saying like like everybody experiences this even in their own profession. So I was like, okay. And then I just had like a lot of other people I looked up to, people within the profession that had done well in other franchises that I'm just like, hey, I really like, I want that. Or like, my uncles growing up had a restoration business, and I'd go visit that. And that was pretty impactful in my development of what I could or couldn't do. Cause every time I go, they'd add another building to their compound of business stuff. And I was like, they had to wait like a gym. I was like, this is insane. This is like Monopoly. Like, so like that kind of stuff, like just, I think allowed me to like just believe that like you could build something.
Yeah.
Like in that, like you didn't need a whole lot besides just willpower and time to make it happen. And talking to those kind of people and picking their brain and interviewing them, or, asking them what they do. And then really the best mentors I have now are probably like my circle of influence, like my partners, other people that I talk like-minded that have businesses that go through things I do, and just being able just to lay it out and reciprocate ideas and thoughts around that is probably where I spent most of my time around putting bank and time into talking to people about, what they're doing and how they're excited about it, and valuing that. But I mean, at this point now, like, even a technician that's been at my place for 2 weeks could be a mentor to me, because like it literally would inspire me like to think differently if they can like do something that I either didn't do or didn't think of.
Yeah.
And that's been a real quick transition to me. So I don't really look at it anymore. It's just like has to be like a billionaire,
right?
For me to like spend.
He's got to be my equal or higher for me to learn something from him.
Yeah, totally.
Not the case.
And so that's a fun aspect of like picking mentors, is like it can be anybody.
Yeah.
You just have to take the time to get interested and learn from them and ask them the right questions.
Yeah.
And anybody can teach you something.
Well, it's a super cool and humble approach, you know, and it probably makes you really fun to work with on that side. You know, I mean, I remember my first job out of college, sitting in business meetings, you know, and thinking to myself, I really have no business being in this meeting because I don't really know that much. And you guys have all been doing this for a long time. And my father-in-law, who I worked with right out of college, he always gave really strong validity, you know, to when I really had good ideas. And it always felt really validated by that. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that is a real key component to not only a good boss, but a successful person in general.
Yeah, I've been told sometimes, like you can kind of be an elephant in a room and not really know what your weight's doing, and like you can knock stuff over and all that.
Yeah.
Like, and I get to that point a lot because I just like, I really like am in awe sometimes of like what's happening, and I don't really restrain what I'm going to say around things, especially when it's like I see something I'm excited about, and I'll just like let it all out and not really fully comprehend all the time like how that's going to land, or you know how somebody interprets that in a positive way usually.
Sure.
And sometimes it can go the other way, but I love just exploring things and having the right people in the room to just like figure out how we solve the problem or how we take advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah. Have you been surprised by your success?
I don't put a lot of weight to it in as much. Like, I'm always competitive around it because like it's I think how I find value in where I put my time.
Yeah.
I love to engage my kids in it more and more, so that they can learn, like, you know, why dad is the way he is. Because sometimes I think they look at me like I'm just crazy. Like when we're talking about a family thing, I'm like, what about this? Or we throw this idea out, and I know that it's like totally like rooted from a business idea or from an experience, and I'm like finding a way to fabric it into the family.
Yeah.
And you know,
and they're like, Dad, don't business meeting us.
Nah. Sometimes they're just like, you know, they're just like maybe they don't quite comprehend it, or they're just like, how do we make this like, here, Dad's getting excited again. Hold on, like we're going for a ride.
Oh boy.
So yeah, finding ways to really integrate both sides, either taking them with me on trips, and letting them see me in my element in that side, so it's maybe more relatable and they understand it, how it fits into the family, or how we lead that way too. So I mean, the success is there's parts of it that are very good, like. And very fulfilling, but like guessing, like I didn't have expectations. Like sure. I didn't like from very little. Like I can remember moments in the first business, being 23, and like if I just did that and I had that, like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
When you say had that, was it like amount of money, or was it like a thing?
Maybe it was like a benchmark, or maybe it was
like I got this much in sales, or
maybe the business would be this big and that would create this for me,
right,
security wise or financial.
Yeah. And
like those things are like so low now, like of what I've achieved. So yeah, I think there is this gap of you know, maybe what I thought I might want, and even that probably is now my same mindset. Like I'm like, okay, like I know I could do this, and you know, then like 2 years it happened. So I'm like, oh shucks, I guess that happened.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know how to explain or describe that. But it's fun. I know that.
What are your goals now? I mean, you look at that. You're still young. Are you even 40 yet?
No.
Yeah, I mean, so you're a pretty successful entrepreneur, got multiple businesses that are doing well. I mean, what do you think the next 20 years looks like for you? What are your goals?
Well, I do know that I can't keep starting businesses from scratch and growing them to the scale that I have. Like I don't have that much capacity to spread out and do that. So most of my time and efforts professionally have been around like investing now, getting into like Series A investing or doing alternative type of investing, and really looking at that as a leverage tool to help and strengthen the businesses I already have.
Sure.
Or take people that I know have goals beyond maybe a position that they are with me in a company, and this helps them maybe with another goal. So learning that process of how that type of world works. Everything I've had has been bootstrapped. So this whole like raising money stuff is like totally new to me. So I've been diving into that. Yeah. And that's challenging and interesting and all those things combined. So that's where I really focused my time lately. And then figuring out how not to pay as much taxes. So
yeah, no kidding. Good luck with that. That's awesome. Okay, so you got some awesome socks on today. The Socks and Soul podcast is partly because I love socks, so I wanted to incorporate the name socks into it, but also socks is symbolic of humble beginnings. I just imagine you in your truck, just working away, trying to meet those benchmarks, build a team, all that kind of stuff. I mean, for you, it was probably work boots and, so I wore these socks today cause they're like my work socks. Ooh. A friend of mine gave me these. They're Cabela's socks. They're really comfortable. And I wear them when I like work in the yard or, put on my work boots and go out there. So I was imagining you, in your early days, just hustling. You're just like hustling out there, selling and cleaning carpets and making it happen.
Well, on the truck days, sometimes I'd bring an extra pair of socks because they get wet, and I can't stand wet socks.
Oh man, me neither.
So yeah, that was a first thought with the name of your podcast. But so these socks are stance socks, and they are Kill 'Em All socks on the Metallica line because I grew up in the Bay Area for a while, so they actually say Kill 'Em All on the bottom.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then there's a big ol'...
Oh, yeah, you got the metallic embroidery on there.
So this is their first album, which has a lot of energy to it. Yeah. And I thought, that would be a worthwhile sock to wear because, like, starting a business takes a ton of energy. Yeah. And, like, and even when you think about music or bands, like, that album is like just pure energy, like just raw, like sound. Yeah. So I bought these socks and I was like, just because I like really appreciated that, they could put something together like that. And knowing that like everything that I do takes energy. Yeah. And the more you can put into something, just the more you're going to get out of it. So that's why I wear these socks today.
That's fabulous. I love that. And I'm a big fan of stance socks.
Yeah, they're comfy.
They make some good threads for sure. No doubt about it. Well, Jeremy, I really appreciate you coming in. If people want to follow you or connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm on Instagram. It's Jeremy E. Mcgee.
Okay.
At Jeremy E. Mcgee. That's probably the best way to send me a message or
I'll put that in the show notes. Also kind of link to your businesses, your beer brand and your Zero Res and the Woodshed. So people can look
shop.
You up.
The Woodshed's a place where you go to get beat up. Yes. The Woodshop's a place where you go to help your build business.
Up. Yeah, that's good. I'm probably not the first person to make that mistake then.
No, that's
based on that response.
Yeah.
The wood shop.
The wood shop.
That's good. That makes a lot more sense. Cool. I'll put those in the show notes so people can connect with you and follow your work. You're great inspiration. You're one of Spokane's premier entrepreneurs. And, you can't live in Spokane for very long without hearing a Zero Res ad or seeing a truck or seeing your building, right off the freeway there. You've done an amazing job, building your businesses. It's really, really inspirational.
Thanks, Kelly.
So keep up the good work. World needs good entrepreneurs like you.
Yeah, it does.
Awesome. Well, this wraps up this week's episode of the Socks and Soul podcast. Check out Jeremy and his work online. If you need your carpets cleaned, he's your guy. And if you got a beard, I'm telling you, this guy knows beards like none other. He is the man of many beards. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. The Socks and Soul podcast is a production of Ditto Film Media. If you enjoy this content, be sure to give it a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Join the conversation on Facebook at Socks and Soul Podcast.